If you want to put people in fear so they generate the energy that you can absorb as your sustenance, what better way than a war? That's why humanity has had so many of them. If this conflict goes on and expands, what does anyone think that is going to do to civil liberties? It's just another excuse, a different one, but another excuse to go down the road of Wetiko, which is total human control and complete deletion of freedom. And he says, and so it continues in its Orwellian fashion. And how appropriate that is, because in Orwell's 1984, as part of the control of the people, there was a perpetual war instigated between Oceania, symbolic of the West, Eurasia, it's where Russia is, and Eastasia, where China is. And I've been saying since way back that one of the things on the wish list script of this global cult, this Wetiko network, is a war between the West and an alliance of Russia and China. The good news is that Wetiko, by its very state of being, by its very schismatic, inverted state of being, is the two-stone weakling when compared with the power of love and expanded states of consciousness. That's why it's terrified. It doesn't want us to go there. It knows the outcome if we do. And, you know, we can look at this from a world of the scene level. How do we respond? How do we react to what's happening? And that's fine, but what's dictating how we react and how we respond? Our state of consciousness is dictating that. So it all comes down to consciousness in the end, all of it. And if we get pulled in to the Wetiko frequency by getting pulled into hating and reacting with violence, then we just become what we're opposing. As I've been saying for decades, what you fight, you become. It's not that you don't stand up to it, it's that you don't respond in the way that Wetiko wants you to respond, so that Wetiko is fighting Wetiko. Doubles all round. Everyone who opens their heart, opens their mind, opens their consciousness to expanded levels of awareness starts to generate that frequency. And that is what's going to dilute the power of Wetiko. Not fighting it in the sense of violence. The truckers in Ottawa showed the way in that regard. Wetiko cannot exist, cannot survive in a high frequency, energetic environment of love and compassion and decency. And This game that we're witnessing, this lunacy, this craziness generated by Wetiko consciousness, can only be won by another state of consciousness. That's the challenge we have, to stay in these high frequency states of perception and consciousness when Wetiko is throwing everything at us to draw us in to its frequency. We must not go there. And if we don't, we shall ultimately prevail.
It's difficult to keep up with the world these days. Things are happening so quickly and right on cue, as we always expect them to. You know, if people don't think Putin is part of the club, well, just the fact that he's invaded Ukraine should demonstrate something to the contrary. All sorts of people are jumping on board now and saying there's all sorts of reasons for this, folks. It's taking down the deep state. Putin is attacking biolabs. This is one of the reports that's coming out. Putin is attacking biolabs in the Ukraine, attacking US biolabs because Putin blames the United States for bioengineering COVID-19. What a load of shit, folks. What a load of absolute crap. It just keeps the narrative going, folks, keeps people in fear. And of course, suddenly, no one's talking about truck protests. No one's talking about truck convoys. No one's talking about the action people are taking. Everyone's terrified of World War III. Right on cue, folks. This is how they do things all the time. Just keep people distracted. See, that, you know, rolling things back in the UK and all this sort of stuff. Suddenly the politicians, Bojo and Trudeau and all these people will appear as our friends because they're trying to protect us. The world's gone crazy, folks. The world's gone completely crazy. But it's so predictable, all this shit. It's so predictable. The poor people in Ukraine, I mean, yeah, they're not bombing biolabs, folks. A friend of mine's ex-girlfriend, who is Ukrainian, has fled to Poland. And she's informed us that a lot of her friends are now hiding in bomb shelters. Pretty drastic stuff going on there, folks. And no, it isn't Putin taking down the deep state. Just more theatre, folks, more distraction. And of course, while it's been happening, in the United States, they are rolling out smart health passes. Many states are picking up on it. Just while people aren't looking, while things just appear to be going back to normal, they're rolling out all this shit in the meantime. The smart grid, folks, they're doing it in Australia as well. They've even got smart buses. They're trialling smart electric buses on the Gold Coast. So they'll be able to disable your vehicle whenever they want. Of course, you won't be able to travel long distances. You're only going to be able to go to places where there's electrical charges for your cars. This is all about control. Everything they do is about control. Even going into Ukraine, something you've got to understand about governments, folks, is that no government is your friend. Everything governments do, any government, any action they take, ultimately is about giving themselves more control. That's all governments do. Governments are there to interfere with the people and to prevent them living their lives to the fullest that they could be, to control their moves, to keep them poor, to keep them under control by any means possible. Usually under the guise of protecting them, but it's never about protecting you. You know, and the heartlessness of these people is phenomenal. You know, the amount of disrespect they're prepared to show for people is just phenomenal. Something else that's being rolled out in the background while not a lot of people are looking. It's an international treaty in pandemic prevention and preparedness. This is being rolled out by the European Council. They want everybody to sign on to this, and this is going to be all UN and NATO countries, basically. They want to sign on to this agreement, this pandemic preparedness agreement, which again is all about control. Everything the government does is about control. And this is next level stuff, folks. If they sign on to this, they're basically signing all of your human rights away and signing you over to control by the World Health Organization. It's going to bypass all our governments, and governments are losing control anyway. They're realizing how little power they actually have.